Hello, my DevNation friends. Welcome to another Tech Talk. And today, if you like Quarkus, if you like web frameworks, today the talk is for you because we have a very special guest. I'd like to ask my friend Stéphane Pardo, straight from Nice, I suppose. He's not traveling. Welcome, Stéphane.
Hi, welcome, and thanks for pronouncing my name brilliantly. That's exactly it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I studied French, 1 year French, 25 years ago. And I hope I did a reasonable job.
Absolutely perfect.
And Stefan, today we're going to be talking about Quarkus Renarde. And I know that we have some Quarkus, we already have Panache, which is a French word. We have Renard, which is a French word. And I can see a pattern there. And maybe you're involved in this. So can you tell us why Renard?
Yes, there is indeed a pattern. This is both our projects that I started, and I guess I'm pretty bad at finding names. And then at some point, I find a name that sticks in my head, and it doesn't leave anymore. And for this one, I found the Renard name, which is a female fox, because I thought the what I was working on was a web framework which was trying to be smart and cute and clever. And when I thought about these qualities, then I thought about a fox, and female foxes are, that's my opinion, I find them cute and smart and clever and agile. And so that's the thing that stuck in my head, and that's where that's why it stuck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, good qualities for a web framework, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's see what we have with how amazing it is, how amazing Quarkus Renard can be, and I'll leave the stage to you. So today, live from Nice, France, and Cary, North Carolina, welcome to DevNation.
Thank you. So let me start the slides. I'm here to show you Quarkus Renarde, which is an old school web framework, but modernized and running on Quarkus. So what is it exactly? So I do mention Panache. People ask me this question a lot: why are some extensions named after French words? And that's because we have a lot of French developers working on Quarkus, and some of them just have this coming in mind. So what is it really? It's a web framework. It's very old school. It's not at all modern in the sense of the current way of doing web frameworks where everything is on the client. This is really something that is more akin to Rails and Play One with a you know what I mean attitude. We want the framework to let you do things as easily and short and concisely and intuitively as possible. It doesn't get in the way. It tries to help you always to what you want with a minimum of ceremony. And to that end, we use a lot of existing Quarkus features, like the server-side templating that we have with Qute. We use persistence with Hibernate ORM or reactive with Panache, which help you a lot cut down on ceremony as well. We use JAX-RS and RESTEasy Reactive, but something very enhanced that allows you to write your controllers and endpoints much easier. We make it very easy to deal with URIs, URLs, and redirection, etc., which is very important in web frameworks. We also use WebJars to allow to help you get client-side dependencies such as Bootstrap, jQuery, whatever you name it. We use WebJars so that you don't have to download them and package them in your application. And we also have a lot of security integration with JWT, OpenID Connect, and WebAuthn, fingers in the nose, that we try to make it as easy as possible. So Qute, I don't know if you're familiar with Qute, but this is something that is in Quarkus that has been in Quarkus for a while already. It's a way to do server-side templating, but it's not just Qute and something that, because Qute is already more than 2 years old. There's been a lot of new additions to Qute lately, and this is very interesting to show, such as global variables with type checking, simpler tag arguments, type arguments, a lot of user experience progress, and we'll show in the demo integration with VS Code. And when I talk about JAX-RS++ and RESTEasy Reactive++, this is because we have much simpler endpoints with a lot of convention, such as your get methods don't need to be annotated with get, because this is the default annotation if your method is public. Whenever your method is annotated with put, post, delete action, then by default we add the transactional attribute annotation. We also have implicit path annotations, and all this you opt in by extending a base class called controller, which allow you to get all these benefits for free, and a lot of methods as well that come from this base class. Whenever you're in a controller and you call another endpoint method, then instead of actually calling the method, it will trigger a redirect to this method, which is very handy to cut down on ceremony, because there's a lot of redirects going on when you do a web framework. And if you don't want to do a redirect and you just want to obtain a URI, then we have a special method called router.getURI, to which you pass a method pointer to obtain the URI to this method. This is something, if you've done JAX-RS before, and you will know exactly what I mean, because this is much simpler than the existing alternative of using reflection to get URIs. In templates, you also need to get URIs. So you have a special template, which is whenever it starts with URI column, then class.method, then you can point to the method you want to get the URI and pass the arguments directly there. It will build the URI for you. We have delayed validation for richer validation, which is something I will show. And the flash scope, which is also something that is very handy, which allows you to pass values from one request to another, especially after a redirect. That's very handy. We have support for security, making it as easy as possible to do security, with utility classes that help you secure your application in favoring JWT for user sessions. We also have a lot of utilities helping you deal with OpenID Connect and WebAuthn. And in all the cases, they work together. There's trivial configuration, great documentation, and lots of bug and UX fixes. And also support for testing, where we provide mocks for both the WebAuthn hardware and OpenID Connect providers, such as Twitter, Facebook, whatever, we mock them. Really trying to help you get everything working in your application. So now, next to be done is a to-do app. What we want to do in this demo is show an entire application from start to finish with user management, to-do handling, and really an entire application written in Renard. So, as I said, this is, maybe I didn't mention it, Renard is a Quarkus extension. So the only thing you need to do is, when you create your Quarkus application, is to import the Quarkus Renard extension, which has a few other options, such as OpenID Connect, OpenID Connect Test, which with the mocking, etc. But mostly you just need to import the Quarkus Renard extension in your Quarkus application, and then you will get the benefit from it. So when you create your Quarkus application, which we started here, I have a Quarkus application with the Renard extension and a bunch of other dependencies, such as Postgres. I'm using Postgres, I'm using WebAuthn, OpenID Connect, etc. I have my application running in dev mode, and I have it running here. And whenever I go to the root of my application, I get a 404 because I don't have anything there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is fix this. We're going to go in our source folder, and there's a lot of convention in Renard. So here I'm going to create a class called application in the REST package, and I want this class to be a controller. So I make it extend controller out, and this allows me to opt in all the great features and simplify JAX-RS. So I can just write string hello and return hello. And this will define a URL starting with application/hello, which returns this. And I can go back here and test it. I hit reload, and you can see that at some point I have this application/hello appear. So I can try it, application/hello, and I have my endpoint. All right. This is cool, but this is not exactly what I want. This is the default path, but you can override it. And I want here actually to make it so that this happens at the root. So I go back here, and I'll reload my application. It takes a bit of time. Normally, hot reload is really fast on Quarkus, but in this case, I actually have a lot of OpenID Connect configuration going on. And these hit a few endpoints going and querying Twitter and Facebook about configuration. So this is a bit slower than usual, but normally it should go like a few milliseconds for reload. So you can see here the root of my application is this. Now I want to make this a bit more complex. So I actually want to return a template instance. I want to be able to return a template. Call this the index, and here I want to be able to say I want a web page. Okay, so I'll use Qute and use check template, which is the way that we define type-safe templates in Qute. And by convention, we put this in a nested static class called templates. And here, every method that is public static native and returns a template instance is going to be a template, and this is how we define the. Why am I not? Should be. Oh, no. Excuse me. Well, okay, never mind. Yeah, that's the problem. Using the wrong key binding. So. Template instance here, this is how I define that I have a template and that it doesn't take any parameters. Here I have a quick fix that I can use to create this template class. By convention, it's going to be in a folder called application with the class name and then the name of the method.html. But this is not really what I want. What I want here is to be able to include, main.html, which is my main template, and then I'm going to pass a few parameters to it, such as the title. Hello. This is going to be the title of my page, and this is going to be the body. So if you follow this link, you can see that we defined here the main template. Which will insert the title and create an HTML document with a bunch of stuff coming from like Bootstrap, that comes from the WebJars, which is something that we define here as a dependency. We depend on Bootstrap icons, and Quarkus WebJars locator that allows us to get all these CSS and JavaScript dependencies automatically downloaded and packaged in our application. And then I have a little bit of a menu and a little bit of Qute template that if I have a message, then I'm going to show it, and otherwise I'm just not going to do anything. So here I have my template. It's called index, and what I need to do here is return this template. So we do templates, the index, and this is what I return. And now if I go back here and I hit reload, I should have my application. All right, well, it's a bit big. So I have my application here, and now what I'm going to do is add a second page. I'm going to add an about page. So here I'm going to copy this method and say that if I go to the about URI, I'm going to call the about template, which I'm going to define here. And I call it about. And here I'm going to define that I pass a parameter ORM. I don't really have a good name. And I'm going to say, pass this parameter here and say DevNation. So I'm passing this parameter to here. I'm going to create this file. And because this is a bit boring, I'm going to copy this one. And this is going to be my about page. It also extends main. And it says, this is about param. That's the parameter that I defined. And you can see that the EID knows about it and knows its type. So I get even proper completion because I know it's a string. Because I defined it here, a parameter of type string. So now I can say this. I have the about page, and I can go here to my application and go to /about, and I should have my page. This is about DevNation. All right, so now I need some navigation because I've been typing those links, those URIs myself, and this is a bit annoying. So I want to be able to say that if I click on the to-do place, I want a URI that redirects me to application.index, and here I want a menu item. I have to remember exactly what how I name these attributes, but I think it's title. Is it title? It's title and the implicit one. So title is going to be about, and the implicit one is going to be URI to application.about. So this is a tag from Qute, and you can see if I click there, I go, and you can see that all the files.html in the tags folder are automatically created as tags that you can include in other places. This allows for great composition in your templates. And let's go back here and hit reload, and I should have a menu. Now if I click here, I go to the main page. If I click here, I go to the about page. All right, so you can see we make it really easy to get URIs in the views with this special tag. So now we have the skeleton of our application. Let's go and create the to-do application. So the first thing we do is we go in the model and we create the to-do entity. How do we create the to-do entity with ORM with Panache? We define that this is an entity, and we extend Panache entity, which allows us to get a lot of good stuff for free, such as having an ID and being able to define all the columns that we want to persist in public fields. So I'm going to say that I need a task. I need Boolean to know if the task is done, and then I'll need a date to know when the to-do is done. So this is what I need for my entity. And I'm going to create also a static method returning a list of to-do here to be able to get the list of to-dos. So I'm going to use methods defined on Panache entity, such as list all, and I'm going to sort them by ID. This way, we always get the same list in the same order. Now I'm going to create a controller, and to make it easier, I'm going to call this. I'm just going to rename it and copy it. So the to-dos controller, I'm going to have a single method for now, which is going to be to-do/index. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that the template is going to take a list of to-do. So list to, and here I don't need a special path. I don't think so. Then I'm going to say I want the index, and I'm going to call to-do.poll. I'm going to pass them to my template here. All right, so I've done my controller. I have an index template that I need to create that takes a list of to-dos. So let's do this. Here, I'm going to copy the about template. That's going to be fine. Good start. This is going to be my to-dos page. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a table. And I'm going to have a first row with the headers. I'm going to have the ID. Then I'm going to have the to-do. Then I'm going to have actions. Right? So it's good to have action. Now I'm going to iterate for to-do in to-dos. For each to-do that I have, I'm going to create a row with 3 cells. I'm going to show the ID, to-do.id. Then I'm going to show to-do.task, for instance. And let's start with no action. So I'm going to display a to-do list. I have everything to display it. Now I need to add a link to this in the menu. So to-dos. Here it's on to-dos.index. Go back here. What happens when I click to do? Oh, I have an error. I'm doing a blocking operation on the IO thread. Of course, I should have configured this. So what happens here is that I'm using Hibernate ORM instead of Hibernate Reactive. And so I need to add the blocking annotation here to say that I'm using a blocking framework. And this is then going to be fine. I should define this on the package, but it doesn't matter. So here I have a list of to-dos, but it's desperately empty. So what I do usually in this case is I add a file called startup.java, which is going to be application scope bin that is blocking, and I'm going to define a method startup, which is going to be called startup. And the way we do this on Quarkus is that we make it observe the startup event from Quarkus. And this is going to be called at the start of Quarkus. Now I'm going to create a new to-do with a task called DevNation. And this is going to be done. I've started this. And when was it done? I'll say done date equals new date from util. And then I'm going to persist this to-do. I'm going to create a second to-do. And I'm going to make this one not done yet. Do the DevNation Talk. Because I'm going to create some persistence, I'm going to say that this is transactional, because this is not a Renard controller, so it's not automatic. So this should do the job. And now at startup, I should have automatically created a set of to-dos which should show up here. All right, but here I don't see that one of them is done and when it was done. So let's go and improve the rendering of this. What I'm going to do here is that if to do done, then I'm going to make it look removed and add on to do done date since property. So at this point, you might be wondering, hold on, this is supposed to be calling date methods, right? And there's no such thing as since property in the date type. So what happens if I click there? You can see that I'm going to a file called Java extensions, which has an annotation called template extension, which allows me to add additional extension methods to existing types, such as date, by defining static methods and taking the first parameter as the type to which we add the method. So here, the first parameter is type date, and the method is named since, which means we're adding a method named since to the date type, and Qute will automatically call this static method to get extra methods on existing types. This is very handy. And in this case, we're going to use this. So let's go back to the view, hit reload. And now you can see that one of them has been done moments ago. All right, so we can display to-dos. Now, I'd like to be able to add to-do. So I'm going to have an action, and I'm going to add here a form, which points to to-dos.add. That's the form. And I have here another tag that will help me, which is called field. And I think I forgot the name. I need the name and the label. So name equals task, equals task. And I'll add a placeholder as well. And this is going to call the add method on the to-dos type. So now I need to create this add method. And here, the way I do this is that I define that it's post method. It doesn't return anything, but it will take a REST form element, which is the task, the element that you find in HTML, holding it. So here I'm going to say I need a new to-do. To-do the task equals task. To-do.persist. And then I'm going to, so I'm persisting the new to-do, and now I'm going to redirect to the index. I do this by just calling the index method. This actually triggers a redirect. It will not call this method at all. It will just throw an exception and redirect to the template to the index. So now if I go back here, I should have my field here. It's not exactly where I meant it to appear, but it will do. Hello, this works. Okay, well, here I have a problem. I'm missing validation because I've just submitted to-dos that were empty, and this is not what I want. All right, so I'll add validation. I'll add here that it can't be blank. This is Hibernate Validator, bin validation. This will make sure that if I call if validation failed, then everything will be set up automatically so that everything works and is forwarded back to the views. I'll show you exactly what I mean. If validation failed, I want to redirect to the index and be done. Again, this throws, so the flow doesn't continue. I don't need to change anything in my views. And here, if I go back here, I hit reload and I try to type enter, I get an error because it must not be blank. So what happens here is that if validation failed, is a method which checks if the validation has errors, and if it has errors, it does a few things, such as prepare for an error redirect, which will take all the parameters we've taken, put them in the flash scope in preparation for a redirect, which happens here when I call index, I redirect to the get method. When I get to the get method, I see that I have a flash scope with values. I take all these values and restore them, and so that when I render the template index and I go back here and I go in the field, I can see I have here a bit of conditional says, if I have an error on this field, I will show the error for this field. This allows you to do validation very easily and pass all the validation errors that you need to your views. So now let's add a few more actions. I'm interested in 2 actions here. I want to be able to delete a to-do. So I'm going to add a new form. Well, let's do it like this. To delete to-do.id. And I'm going to make a button. This is just bootstrap between danger, I think. Right. And I'm going to have another one. Well, I'm just going to keep this one for now. I think I won't have into the other one. So I go back to to-dos, and here I want to have post method delete and rest path. I'm going to put it on the path. This one. Long ID. I want to take the to-do ID. So to-do find by ID. ID here. I'm just doing a find by ID, and I'm going to call a method called not found if null to-do, which will throw an 404 if the to-do doesn't exist. And if it exists, then I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to flash a message. Add a message to the flash scope saying the gym. And then I'm going to redirect to the index. This is what happens when I hit delete. All right, so let's go back to the view, hit reload. Now I have here an action that allows me to delete items. And I can still add them and delete them. All right, so it works. So you can see it's fairly easy to define actions, model, controller, the views, everything falls into place. But now I have this to-do application, and I'd like to secure it and make it possible to have users register on the application and verify that they have a set of to-dos which belong to them. So to that end, I have here an entity called user, which has a bunch of properties such as username, first name, last name, password, email, confirmation code, and a few methods such as find by username, find by confirmation code. And I have a login application, which allows me to do a number of things. I'll have to show you the UI for this maybe first. So I'll go here and I'll show you that I have here a login page, and I'm going to add this to the menu. So in the main HTML, I'm going to have a login page here. A link to the login. Oh. And show you the UI. This is going to be simpler. So here, if I go to the login page, then I have 2 options. I can either log in by username and password or register and verify an email. So let's see what happens here. This login page, what is it exactly? It's pretty simple. We have 2 forms, one that calls the toLogin method on the login controller and passes username and password, and the other one calls register by email. So what do those do? If I go to the login controller, I have here the login view, and if I call do login, I pass it a username, which cannot be blank, and a password. I verify, I do validation verifying that the password has been set. If the validation failed, then I go back to the login form. If not, I find by username. If I don't find it, then I say that the username is wrong. If I do find it, I will verify using bcrypt that the password matches the encrypted password. Well, not encrypted, but hashed. And if it fails, I go back to the login page. And if it doesn't fail, then I do a redirect using the getURI API to obtain a URI to the application index page. And I set a new cookie asking Renard to make a user cookie for this, which is a JWT cookie, which will allow me to log in. So here I'm going to create a user. First name equals Dev. User last name equals hello. User email equals dev@fair. User password equals bcrypt util hash secret password, and then user purchased. And I'm going to save this user. I'm going to be able to say that the owner of this to-do is my user, because I want this to belong to this user. And the way I do this is by adding a new property, adding this field, and say here, this is my user, and this is a many to one. This is the relation I have. And I want to be able to then display only the to-dos from this user. So I'm going to change a bit my query here and call list, which takes a query by, this is the query, this is the sort, and these are the parameters that I want to pass. So I want the query by user and all those that match this user. And I have to adapt my to-dos controller, saying that here I want to be able to say that this is a controller which has a user of this type. This allows me to get a bunch of very interesting operations, such as getting the current user. Pretty useful. Whoa, not this one. Get user. And here I'm going to say that when I add a new to-do, I'm going to remember the user. And now I'm going to here do another thing, make it blocking so that I can go in the main template and display the user. Let's go back here, main template, and I'm going to say that here I'm going to display the user. I'm going to do this here, user, index, current user. So let's go back. Oh no, I can do a conditional here as well. I want to be able to say that if I don't have a user, I don't want to be able to add the link to the to-dos page. So if I have a user, I want to be able to do to go to the user page, to the to-dos page, and also to be able to log out. And if I don't, I want to be able to log in, and then I close my if. I think I have a final thing missing to be able to pass the user to the view, but I think, no, this is set up. Okay, so this should work. Now, normally, I should be able to log in my application. No, something is missing. Email, yeah, I didn't add the email. Did I add the email? Users. I think probably the user was not found. Something happened weird. Here, main template, inject user, username. Well, there is a property called email in the user. Is there not? Oh, this is no. Did I forget to set it? User email, the user persist. No, I have everything. So hey, I'm not sure what's happening here, but I can see that I'm getting a bit late. So probably I'll need to cut short this demo. I'm really not sure what's happening. Maybe in cookie? No, I don't. Text users? No. It's really a pity. I don't think I can. I don't want. Yeah, I'm already going late. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to show you quickly another feature before I go back to the slides and cut this short. I'm really sorry about this timing. So in the login, I have another method here called register, which allows you to register by email. So I pass the email and I create a new user. I persist a new user, and then I'm going to send an email to the user. And how do I do this? I do this by having another check template, as I showed earlier. But instead of pointing to a view that will be shown to the user, this points to a mail template instance. So you just change the return type. And this allows you to define a template that will be sent by email. So when you call templates.register, then you can say from this person to this person and send the email. And this allows you to define your emails using templating again with Qute. And so you have two variants, text file, HTML files, and this allows you to send emails very easily. I'm really sorry about this demo not working. I don't understand what happened, but I'm already, so I'm going to skip this. And I'm also going to skip showing you OpenID Connect and WebAuthn. I'm really sorry about this, but I'm running late, and when it's not working, well, it happens. So let's go back here. What now? So Quarkus Renarde was released on Quarkiverse, which is where we put all the non-core extensions in Quarkus, which means it's integrated in when you go to code.quarkus.io, you can get it, and it's going to be listed, and you can create your application from the start with Renard. The support for it was added in Quarkus 2.8, and the remaining OpenID Connect providers such as Twitter and Spotify, and also WebAuthn support is added in Quarkus 2.9. Which should be out any moment now. Candidate release 1 was out the door already. The entire application, the entire code for Quarkus Renarde is on the Quarkiverse GitHub repo. And the to-do sample app with everything working actually this time, unlike my demo, is also on GitHub under the Quarkus Renarde to-do folder. Next in line is going to be integration with web components and maybe Quinoa, which is another Quarkiverse extension aiming to do web framework. At this time on the client side, maybe we can have a mix of client and server-side web frameworks together. That would be very interesting to experiment. I have a branch at the moment I'm working on with scaffolding, allowing you to automatically add a back office generated website to allow you to update your entities when you don't have time to deal with this. I'd like to make sure that internationalization is trivial to do in Renard as well. So that's another thing that I want to add. And of course, well, we're looking for users and feedback. So contributors would be even better. But even then, it's already something that has two real applications ported to it, and several users looking at it. So it already has a lot of features, but it's still early on. So don't hesitate to try it out and tell us what you like, what you don't, and tell us if you want to change anything or bring it to a different direction, if anything is missing or what. We would really like some feedback about this. And I'm going to hand it back to you, Edson. I'm sorry I ran over late and the demo fizzled at the end, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, that's how we know it's a live demo. And don't worry, content was great. We're happy to have you here. And my first it's the first time I'm seeing Renard, and my impression is that whoa, it looks super productive. So yeah, yeah, kudos on the great work. And we do have questions, and actually some of them I was wondering myself. Let me try to see here on the list. And so the first question is from Daniel. So if I understood correctly, the classes have to extend the controller.
For endpoints, yes. This is how you opt in to all the magic that we do on top of JAX-RS. This allows you to have regular JAX-RS endpoints if you want that will not be touched and will not be magicked. And if you want them to be touched and magicked and opt into the, the, the whole magic thing, automatically adding annotations and redirects and all, then you need to extend controller.
Oh, and Bruce has an interesting question. Can templates use JSF?
No, I don't think you can use JSF. No, I'm sure you cannot, but I don't think you want to. Really, the the Qute templates are really nice, and there's great integration with the IDE, and there's a lot of features in Qute that you won't find in JSF, and there's a the, it's old school, but it's not that old school. JSF is really old and was not really built with the proper web mindset and had a lot of cost associated to it, which we don't want to have in Quarkus. And also due to the ability to compile your application natively, Qt has a lot of support, especially for that, and benefits a lot for we get a lot of benefits from using Qt with regards to native compilation. So we get great performance and great features that would be very, very hard to do with JSF.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think there is a Quarkus extension for JSF too, don't we?
Maybe there is, but I'm pretty sure it won't work with Renard, or I
Mhm.
don't see how it would. But if people are very interested in this, then maybe we could add it. But I'm really not sure this is the right direction for
Mhm.
templating.
Yeah, no, I too understand that they're completely different approaches. You have templating, and you have JSF components. So I understand the difference, and you can use both. I love JSF, but I can see how I could use to love Renard as well. And let's see another question from Daniel, probably about the email templating. Like, should we have two templates for the email, HTML, and text? And if yes, how will be decided which one is sent?
Actually, both are sent. So you could have only one if you want to send only HTML emails, and if you want to have only text emails, then you can have only a single one. But if you define both, then the email is sent with the proper. I can't remember how it's called, but email supports a combination of multiple media types. So actually, when you send an email, you can send variants of the email within it, and so you have a text variant and an HTML variant, and then the user receiving it will, if he's reading it in MUT, he will display the text email, and if they're reading it in Thunderbird or Gmail, they will display the HTML email. So they're actually bundled together. It's a single email, and that's supported by the email protocol.
Oh, pretty cool. And Daniel seems to be very interested because he has another question. Like, is there a roadmap to know when internationalization will be integrated? It's something that he really miss, and he needs to support 3 or 4 languages.
Well, there's no roadmap per se, but I also need it for porting more applications that I have. I have a bunch of applications running in production for 12 years now, and they're all written in Play One. And I've ported one already to Quarkus with the Renard, and I want to port the other ones. And they do need internationalization as well. So it's definitely on the roadmap. And I know that Qt already supports internationalization. So maybe it's just a matter of documenting it, or maybe there needs to be a bit of glue going on, but I'm sure it won't be hard. So it is on the roadmap, and if it's urgent for you and you try Renard and that's the thing blocking you, then you can also help contribute it, and then it will go faster. But I'm fairly confident that it should not be a lot of work because Qt already supports internationalization.
Oh, and Daniel is saying, well, glad there is a version 1.0 now because he was waiting for it to use in production. So kudos for the great work.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see here. I'd like to say hi to DJ Matty. DJ Matty is one of our DevNation champions. He's always here watching the sessions. So hi, DJ Matty. And I think we're out of questions. So, Stefan, thank you again so much for being here. You always super welcome and super helpful when we ask you to present some of the great stuff that you're doing. And let me put your screen here showing the Renard. Is that the official logo? This
Yes,
box?
a friend of mine did it. I really like it.
Hmm. Cool. So thank you very much. Thank you all of our DevNation attendees, viewers. You're super welcome here, just as Stefan is welcome here to present. And I'd like to thank you for all and see you soon in our next DevNation offering.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Take care.
Bye.